Before you watch Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I'm going to recap the events in the MCU that involve Black Panther and the people of Wakanda so far, as well as give my thoughts as to some stuff that we might see in the movie, along with some basic comic book information on new characters that could be introduced. So if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. This is a spoiler warning, not for Wakanda Forever, but for any property in the MCU that involves Black Panther. So we'll start with the recap. So T'Challa's Black Panther, played by the late Chadwick Boseman, made his first appearance in the MCU in Captain America's Civil War. 11 Wakandans were killed during an outreach mission in Lagos as a result of the Avengers fighting Crossbones and his mercenaries, which, paired with the fight with Ultron and Sokovia, led directly to the Sokovia Accords to keep the Avengers supervised. When the Sokovia Accords were being ratified in Vienna, during a speech from King T'Chaka, a bomb exploded and killed him, framing the Winter Soldier as the suspect in the process, leading to T'Challa to seek revenge. So this led to the Black Panther fighting the Winter Soldier and then subsequently being on Team Iron Man, but only really because he was on the opposite side of the Winter Soldier. So T'Challa followed Cap, Bucky, and Iron Man to the Arctic area where the other super soldiers were being held, where he realized that everything has happened was because a direct result of the vengeance of Zemo, and he decided to break the cycle and not let it consume himself in the same way. So Civil War ends with T'Challa allowing the Winter Soldier to be put on ice and have his mind examined in Wakanda to see if they can cure him from his reoccurring mind control. So in the events of Black Panther, a week or so after the events of Civil War, they mourn the death of King T'Chaka, and they go through the process of crowning T'Challa as the new king. During the ceremonial proceedings, M'Baku challenges T'Challa to a fight for the crown, where T'Challa wins. T'Challa, Nakia, and Okoye go to apprehend Klaw for his war crimes against Wakanda, and they go to do this in Korea, but they are slightly interfered with by the CIA, specifically Agent Everett Ross. So working with Klaw to help him escape is Eric Killmonger, the child of King T'Chaka's brother N'Jobu, who was killed for betraying Wakanda in the past. Ross is hurt in Klaw's escape, and they bring him to Wakanda to help heal him. Killmonger then betrays Klaw after helping him escape and delivers his body to Wakanda with a claim to the throne. T'Challa accepts this challenge, which leads to their gladiatorial fight, where Killmonger wins and throws T'Challa off the cliff. So Queen Ramonda, Shuri, and Nakia escape the city where Killmonger is now king, and he wishes to arm oppressed people all around the world with the resources to fight back, which is actually a pretty noble cause, so they had to even it out by basically making him a dick. They flee to M'Baku for help, with only one heart-shaped herb left, and offer it to him to help take Wakanda back. M'Baku refuses and reveals that he had found T'Challa still barely alive after the fall. They gave T'Challa the heart-shaped herb so he could be healed, and then they make for the final fight against Killmonger, where once the Dora Milaje see that T'Challa is still alive, they join forces with him against the forces of Killmonger, which are the Border Tribe, led by Daniel Kaluuya's W'Kabi, because they believe in Killmonger's leadership. I don't know 100% if they believed in Killmonger's cause, but I know he was mainly rocking with Killmonger because he managed to kill Klaw when he felt T'Challa had failed him in that aspect. With the help of Everett Ross remotely piloting an aircraft, as well as M'Baku and his forces showing up, they manage to beat the Border Tribe, and then T'Challa kills Killmonger in the Vibranium mines, but brings him on top of the mountain to view the Wakandan sunset. The movie ends with T'Challa wanting to provide better resources and help to people around the world, and establishes an outreach center where N'Jobu died. The post-credit scene has Bucky waking up, seemingly cured of his mind control, with the children nearby calling him the White Wolf. So now in Avengers Infinity War, T'Challa provides Bucky with a new vibranium arm and has the Avengers come to Wakanda to provide them help on getting the Mind Stone out of Vision's head. The Black Order and army of Thanos arrives, which leads to a war, which they almost become overrun until Thor arrives to turn the tides. They manage to kill all the members of the Black Order, but Thanos arrives for the Mind Stone after defeating the heroes on Titan and claiming the Time Stone. Thanos makes short work of almost everybody, claiming the Mind Stone and finishing the Infinity Gauntlet, where Thor attempts a final blow but isn't able to finish him off, which results in Thanos snapping and wiping out half of all life in the universe. Among the people who were dusted were T'Challa and Shuri, with Okoye and I'm pretty sure M'Baku surviving. During the events of Avengers Endgame, Okoye helps the Avengers by letting them know of reports of things happening around the Wakandan region. After the Avengers are successful in their time heist and assembling their own Infinity Gauntlet, the Hulk snaps and brings back the other half of the universe, only to be immediately attacked by Thanos and his forces from the past who had followed them back to the present. Doctor Strange and Wong, with, I'm assuming, at least the help of other sorcerers, portal in a bunch of various forces all over the universe to help finally stop Thanos, including portaling in T'Challa, Shuri, Okoye, M'Baku, and the forces of Wakanda. They managed to defeat Thanos, with Iron Man sacrificing himself to use their Infinity Gauntlet to wipe out Thanos and his forces. There's a shot of T'Challa, Shuri, and Queen Ramonda overlooking Wakanda in celebration at the end of the movie. We get our final performance by the late Chadwick Boseman in the What If Disney Plus series, where he plays a version of T'Challa that got picked up by Yondu and his Ravagers instead of Peter Quill, which results in him becoming Star-Lord instead. This version of T'Challa is also called upon at the end of the series by the Watcher to help form the multiversal Avengers and stop a version of Ultron who was successful in the events of Age of Ultron and has now acquired all 6 Infinity Stones and is expanding to other universes. Now we'll talk about things that we know or potentially might know about the movie itself, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed away in August of 2020, so rest in peace to the late and great Chadwick Boseman. And Marvel has chosen not to recast T'Challa, which, I'm not going to give my opinion on. I think it's fine, whatever they decide to do. It's apparent in the movie that we are going to get a funeral proceeding of sorts in the movie. So it's also clear that there will be a new Black Panther by the end of this movie, which looks to be a woman, and it's most likely going to be Shuri, which would be accurate to certain runs in the comics where she has become the Black Panther. So the main villain is going to be Namor the Submariner, who in the comics is the king of Atlantis and is also classified as a mutant. So specifically, he's actually the first mutant in Marvel Comics, and that's as far as him being like the first one to appear in the comics, not necessarily the first mutant to have lived in the Marvel Comics timeline, just the first one to have appeared in the actual comics itself. However, it is clear that they are going a different route with Namor in the MCU, with Tenoch Huerta playing Namor, who is more of a Central American origin in the movie, being the ruler of the underwater kingdom of Talokan, instead of having it named Atlantis. I personally believe that they are flat out replacing Atlantis with Talokan, as to separate the similarities between Namor and Aquaman in DC as much as possible, albeit Namor did come first. So Namor has similar abilities to Aquaman without being able to talk to fish, but Namor can also fly using small wings on his feet, which I'm surprised. They do look kind of silly in the movie, but I also think they don't look as silly as I originally thought based on the trailers and stuff like that. So Namora will also be in this movie, who in the comics is the cousin of Namor, along with Atuma, who has been an antagonistic figure to Namor in the comics, in the respect that he has wished to conquer Atlantis, being a part of a tribe called the Skarka that was previously exiled. So I will also note that Namor is the villain of this movie, but in comics he has been known to kind of be more of an anti-hero figure, being on different sides of fights depending on what's going on, but there has been a rivalry between Namor and T'Challa in the comics, especially so after the events of Avengers vs. X-Men, where Namor used part of the Phoenix Force to drown most of Wakanda, which seems might have some inspiration for certain parts of this movie. Not necessarily, obviously, that he's going to get the Phoenix Force or anything crazy like that, but just that he's clearly going to take the fight to Wakanda and flood Wakanda and stuff like that. So it looks like the inspiration will come from that fight in the comics. To me, it's unclear what the direct conflict will be between Wakanda and Talokan in this movie, though. But one thing we do know is that the outside world is now trying to take advantage of Wakandan resources after opening themselves up to the world, and now that they're vulnerable without their Black Panther. But obviously, it looks like by the end of this movie, there will be a new Black Panther in the form of, I'm assuming, Shuri. So that about wraps up everything that I'm going to talk about before this movie. Comment down below if you're excited for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. And I appreciate you for watching the video.